Tonight, hundreds turn out for Rescue Helicopter Open Day, Waikato Regional Council talk about our roads, and a Kiwi startup company. Kia ora and good evening. Welcome to Central News on TV Central for Wednesday, the 25th of March. I'm Amanda Harper. In today's news, Kiwi social marketplace app Cellshed are on track to exceed their fund target after just 2 weeks of raising money via equity crowdfunding platform PledgeMe. Investment opportunities in Cellshed, a free mobile app which matches buyers and sellers in their local communities for online trading, went live on Monday 9th of March on PledgeMe. Cellshed CEO Peter Howe says the response has been impressive. He says one of the first investors was a San Francisco tech company that assists Kiwi startups to break into the US market, which will enable the global expansion to get off to an extremely positive start. Hillary's interview with the co-founder of Cellshed will be on later tonight. Crowds of people turned up to enjoy the Trustpower Tech Open Day over the weekend in Tauranga, experiencing the chance to meet the pilots and crew, explore inside the rescue helicopter, and even get a ride on the Port of Tauranga rescue winch. The community pays half of the operating costs per helicopter, and the Open Day provided the public with the opportunity to see the service the rescue helicopter provides. Pilot Todd Dunham says the Open Day is an opportunity to give back to those who support them. The Trustpower Tech Rescue Helicopter team were joined by principal sponsors Trustpower and Tech and associate sponsor Westpac, who provided colouring in competitions and face painting for the younger crowd. NZ Police, NZ Fire Service, St John Ambulance and Landsar also partook in the day. The day also coincided with the Tauranga Motorcycle Club's 25th annual Easter egg and toy run, which saw hundreds of motorcycles ride from Papamoa Plaza to Tauranga Hospital carrying Easter eggs and soft toys for the children staying in Tauranga Hospital's Children's Ward. Motorists travelling on State Highway 5, State Highway 36 and State Highway 30A in Rotorua this week are advised to expect delays and to consider using an alternative route. The New Zealand Transport Agency says thousands of people are expected to attend Crankworx, an international mountain bike event held at Skyline Rotorua on State Highway 5, and increased traffic is expected to cause major delays. The festival runs from today until Sunday, with the events on Friday and the weekend expected to attract the most people. People not attending the event are advised to consider an alternative route via State Highway 33, State Highway 30 and Te Ngai Road, which is east of the lake. Avoid the area if possible. Bay of Plenty kiwi fruit growers will benefit from the New Zealand-Korean Free Trade Agreement thanks to reduced tariffs imposed on their export fruit. Under an agreement signed between the New Zealand and Korean governments, 45% tariff on exports from this country will be removed over 5 years. The biggest competitor, Chile, currently pays no tariffs on kiwi fruit it sells into Korea. Bay of Plenty MP Todd Muller is among those welcoming the agreement, which he says has some major benefits for the region. Negotiations have proven successful between the councils and a Cook Beach local landowner, resolving a long-standing floodplain issue that affected a number of residents next to Cook Stream on the Coromandel Peninsula. It will see the Regional Council, Thames Coromandel District Council and a local landowner pay $20,000 in total for remedial work. Regional Council Coromandel Area Manager Emily O'Donnell said some years ago allegations had been made that the landowner had unlawfully raised the ground level on their property, resulting in the filling in on some of the land plane. It was suggested this caused increased flooding on the properties of other residents. A detailed investigation at the time had shown the level of the floodplain had been raised. The current landowner denied responsibility. Ms O'Donnell says rather than spend a lot of ratepayers' money on uncertain court action, the council elected to take a more pragmatic approach in working with the Thames Coromandel District Council and the landowner to negotiate an agreeable solution. And now for our region's weather. Hamilton, high of 23 and low of 12. Early drizzle, evening rain, northwesterly breezes. The rest of the Waikato will be the same. Pairo, high of 23 and 15. Matamata, 21 and 15. Te Awamutu, 23 and 12 low. Tokoroa, your high is 20 with a low of 13. And in the Bay of Plenty, Tauranga 22-16, early drizzle, rain at night, northwesterlies. Te Puke, your high is 21 and overnight low of 15. And for the marine forecast, on the west coast, Raglan, northwest 15 knots, easing late Thursday, variable 10 knots. High tide is at 3:53 in the afternoon. And for the east coast, a variable 10 knots, sea slight, easterly swell of 1 metre. Your high tide is at 12:56 p.m. Coming up in the show, tarnished frocks and divas. Welcome back to Central News. For over a decade, Tarnished Frocks and Divas have brought women from all over the Bay of Plenty together to showcase their talents, all who volunteer their time.
Our show can't be on without volunteers. We've got a large volunteer base. That's how we run. The whole ethos of the show is actually a platform for women within the community to come out and be part of, to actually put something together. So it is based on volunteers and it's based on women having that opportunity to get out there and have a go.
Are there any particular skills that you're in need of?
What we don't have, we can teach anyway, but it's also people bringing their own skill sets in. Constantly looking for women that have those special skill sets that will help with the show. Sound, camera would be fantastic. All of them, really, but not just stopping there. It's most women actually have skill sets that they don't actually even respect of themselves. They're multitaskers. So it's about a whole group of women actually getting together and having a good time. If we need a job done, we can actually teach that skill set. It's about being involved.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the previous shows and that history behind Tarnished Frocks and Divas?
Well, the history behind Tarnished Frocks is about a group of women that got together through a dance, and they had their children attending a dance studio, and some of them actually carried on to dance. So they're creative women. They had a friend who ended up by dying of breast cancer. She, to honour her, they actually put on a show. It went rampantly. It was sold within hours of going on to the market. Very much a success. So from there was born this delightful feel of women giving it a go, stepping up. And Tarnished Frocks was born. They put a committee around that, a set of trustees, and from there they just started to put on these shows biannually. The difference with Tarnished Frocks and Divas is that it's for women over 40. Women over 40 can sometimes feel a little bit transparent as they age. So it's their moment of glory. They can get up there, they can strut their stuff. We make everybody part of it.
Is there still that ethos of fundraising and remembering those who have passed on from breast cancer?
We have a percentage of it as fundraising. This year it's going to be quite different. We're actually dividing it into 3 different fundraising parts. We still support breast cancer, but this year we're actually doing the yin and the yang, and that is we're actually giving money also to prostate cancer. And the third fundraising that we're going to be doing will be actually, it hasn't been named yet because the cast will actually vote for where that should be. So there'll be a third component to that. We're wanting to become a self-funding organisation, so it's important that we actually have a good strong body that behind that can carry the money forward to actually put the next show on. We have plans to actually be around for quite some time.
How is it all funded? I mean, obviously you'd have the ticket sales, but is there sponsors, major sponsors that are there all the way from the beginning?
We have some brilliant sponsors, and we can't do it without the sponsors. The ticket sales are actually only a very small part of that. I mean, we're talking a big show here, so we need to actually have quite a good, strong support of sponsors, which we do from this area.
Visit tarnishedfrocksanddivas.co.nz to volunteer your time or whatever expertise you think you could bring to the show. Improving roads around the Waikato is a task that affects everyone in our region. Waikato Regional Council says the key is collaborative partnerships.
Yeah, I think we firstly need to acknowledge this is an example of collaboration working, where all the key parties have come together. They've forgone local roading projects in favour of funding the Waikato Expressway as the single biggest roading improvement in our region. So we've doubled the investment by central government into our transport in the region through that collaborative process. So attracting about $2 billion of government investment into the Waikato Expressway. What it means is two things. Firstly, it will reduce traffic flows going through our various towns where the state highway currently passes through Hamilton City or some of the local towns. And so it should improve the pleasantness, attractiveness of those local roads. The second thing is that will improve the travel time between Auckland and Hamilton. So it'll probably take over half an hour off the trip between the two centres. The consequence of that is that it will increase the attractiveness of people to live in Hamilton or other Waikato towns but work in Auckland. So it will probably increase commuting pressure, so that will put pressure on Waikato housing. So some of the potentially high house prices that you're currently seeing in Auckland may eventually flow into our region as the Waikato becomes closer to Auckland in effect for commuting purposes. So, and probably the other main benefit is economic, because the Waikato doesn't have a seaport. We either have to have imports and exports through Auckland or through the Bay of Plenty, and so it's very important economically to have some good access between the Waikato and our neighbouring regions. So in that respect, the expressway is very important.
I don't know if I like the idea of us getting a bit closer to Auckland, but there is definitely a lot of benefits there, and there are a lot more Aucklanders moving to Hamilton already, and it's not even completely finished.
That's true. One thing that we do need to keep an eye on the ball about is the housing developments just south of Auckland. In actual fact, Pukekohe, Franklin area, some of those are quite large scale, and what we're seeing is more traffic entering the state highway, travelling north to Auckland at those points. And certainly we don't want to undermine the investment of the state highway such that the congestion starts to creep south again. We believe that Waikato is a great place to live and work and play, and that what could happen is people could elect to live in the Waikato themselves and look at setting up businesses here as well, rather than all roads leading to Auckland.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more potential benefits to be seen in the future.
We've got plenty of land, we've got plenty of residential, commercial, industrial land, quite close to the state highway and quite close to the railway, so people can freight their goods to Auckland or to the Bay of Plenty. A great place to live and work, the Waikato.
Yeah. And I think the other positive benefit of the expressway is around reducing car crashes, and we've seen recently some major fatalities on our roads, and so by having a nice 4-lane road with minimal entry points onto that road should reduce the crashes on our state highways.
Yes, you're right, there have been quite a number of fatalities, even around the Matamata Piako district too.
Yes.
It's very saddening, and it's something to think about.
It is, and that's a key focus of our roading improvement. We know where the hotspots are, and we're rolling out a program to deal with those hotspots to reduce the death and injury from the roads.
We'll be back with more after the break. Welcome back to Central News. The long-term plan from the Waikato Regional Council has just been released for public consultation, and roading is a key issue. I've got Paula Southgate and Vaughan Payne in studio. Now, we've had a big talk about the improvements on the Waikato Expressway to Auckland. Now, what about on the southern end? How are the routes to the Bay of Plenty going to be improved or upgraded?
Well, they're definitely on the radar as far as improvements, because I think while we recognise the importance of the ports of Auckland for getting freight out of New Zealand and as a port to all of our other communities as well, we absolutely recognise the Bay of Plenty and the importance of the port in terms of getting our goods out and about to market.
So there is a collaboration occurring between not just the Bay of Plenty, but all councils throughout the Upper North Island. We're working through a group called the Upper North Island Strategic Alliance, so that goes right through from Northland, Auckland, Waikato and the Bay of Plenty, working together to understand how we rely on each other, particularly around transport and freight, and making sure that we understand where the bottlenecks are across the Upper North Island, and putting plans in place with central government, the Transport Agency, Kiwi Rail, to make some strategic investments across the Upper North Island to make sure that we're well connected. So that will probably inform any alternative routes and improvements between the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty, and also the Waikato and to the south towards Taranaki as well.
And will the road cause more congestion on the southern motorway?
In our view, that's probably a major threat to the Waikato and the investment that central government's made in the expressway, because the last thing that we want is for that major corridor to the north being clogged up with commuter traffic from perhaps poor land use planning within the Auckland region. So a lot of Auckland's growth is coming to the south, a lot of their housing developments are to the south, but we're not seeing a lot of alternative roads besides the southern motorway being planned to cope with that growth to the south. And also concerned about the rail impacts as well, because that rail corridor is also very important, not just for the Waikato, but the Bay of Plenty. So very important that we work closely with the Auckland Council to ensure that they're protecting that investment.
And I was going to mention the same thing, that rail is an important part. We've recognised for a long time that getting some of the freight off roads, we don't want all the freight going on bigger, longer trucks, heavier trucks. We want to get some freight off road and onto rail. And so we're having conversations north-south, but we're also having conversation about rail movement from east to west over to the Bay of Plenty as well. In fact, we've already invested in some improvements to rail in the Bay of Plenty, alongside the Bay of Plenty, that have sped up the number of trains that can go through east to west. And those are the kinds of things that we'd be looking at again.
Yeah, I think if you look at New Zealand's rail system, my understanding is that the rail network from Hamilton to Tauranga is the most profitable rail network in the whole of New Zealand, or line. And I think recall for about $10 million, the Waikato councils worked with the Bay of Plenty councils and Kiwi Rail and doubled the capacity of that rail line for $10 million. So again, the benefits and merits of working together to resolve our issues.
See the Council website for details on how to submit feedback about the long-term plan. And in our last story, equity crowdfunding platform PledgeMe is a model for raising money for various projects and ventures. Hilary met with co-owner of Cellshed, a social marketplace software platform app, who are using PledgeMe to attract potential investors.
We approached PledgeMe about a week ago. We went up on the platform and we decided that we want to do crowdfunding because it's the new trendy way to raise funds. So thought we'd give it a go. So yeah, we've been up for a week. We've had a reasonably good response. We've raised almost half of our minimum target. So yeah, pretty good so far. Crowdfunding seems to be a new thing. What it is, well, the one we're using is a platform on the web where a lot of different people can go to that website and contribute to a project. So yeah, we've got different packages, like from 500 up to 50,000. So anyone can really go to that site and put in a pledge. So it reaches out to a wider demographic of people who might be wanting to invest in a project.
Is crowdfunding the new share market of the 80s? Has it opened it up for the average Joe Block?
Yes. Average Joe, mum at home even, can invest. So yeah, it does open up to just the normal person rather than big corporates. Entrepreneurs, they would be a good investor, because they like to take punts and take risks. So we've found that actually locally we've had good support from local businesses who have wanted to, you know, put in. So they seem to be the best punters.
That's interesting. Why do you think that is?
Entrepreneurs, they take risks. So, you know, and they know how to spot something good.
So do you think therefore it is suited more to the younger market, not your typical investor?
Yes, I do. I think younger people seem to be more tech savvy and they just get it. Whereas the old school, they're kind of left scratching their head a little bit, wondering, you know, what is this about? So yeah, younger people definitely appeals to them. But you know, what is young? These days, you know, 40 is the new 30, so you know, it could appeal to, you know, 30-year-olds or 40-year-olds.
In a nutshell, what is Cellshed?
Cellshed is a social marketplace, and it's built on top of a platform that is mobile. So we cover, you know, web and mobile, and it's a trading platform where people can buy and sell, along with you know, a few kind of different extras like an offers system where businesses can communicate with their followers and make offers, special offers and prizes and giveaways and things.
Do you think this kind of funding allows those smaller tech companies to gain that international exposure?
Yes, in fact we have a real world example where we have actually had an investor put in from San Francisco, and that's because we put the word out, and yeah, the word got across over to there. So we got investors, you know, pretty much from outside of our own hometown.
What is geo-advertising?
Geo-advertising is, with the users of the platform, we actually can tell where they are located, and so we can target advertising to where they are currently at. So like, for example, if they walk up to, I don't know, they're in an event, or if they're near McDonald's or something, then they can actually get a push notification through their phone to tell them that there's a special on. So yeah, it's all to do with their geolocation.
If you would like to invest in Cellshed or other projects, head to pledgeme.co.nz. Thank you for watching Central News tonight. We do post everything online on our website, tvcentral.co.nz, and also on our Facebook page. Search centralnews.tv. Otherwise, email us at news@tvcentral.co.nz with any feedback or story leads. I will be back on screens tomorrow night with more stories from the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty. I'm Amanda Harper. Have a good night. Paul Marie.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.